Today on the Bowser Journal, we're doing aquaponic maintenance, and we're also adding a new filtration device to it to help clear it up a little bit more. So come with us to see what we're doing. We do have a functioning aquaponic system on the Bowser Ranch. We don't necessarily harvest the fish out of it, although we could because we're doing tilapia. We're using it more to capture the fish emulsion and for the grow beds, not for the grow beds, but for the gardens, and also for our compost piles. And then our grow beds obviously take the nitrates out of the water, and we grow plants down as well. It does require maintenance. There's two types of maintenance. There's the easy maintenance and there's the hard maintenance. The easy maintenance you do, once a week or so. You just go down and make sure everything's functioning right, and make sure nothing's blocked up. The major maintenance happens about once a month, where you got to take out all the filtration media and clean it and all that stuff. And part of my process is I'm trying to make that job easier and capture it better, so maybe I can expand those out to maybe 5 or 6 weeks in between those. So the system I'm adding today is an adaptation of a system that I saw in a YouTube video. Imagine that. And the video that we watched, they actually had it in a 55-gallon drum. They had these PVC pipes. They drilled holes through them and they put some netting and other stuff around, which I'll show you in a second. They put the water inside, it kind of came out, it filters the system. I don't have a 55-gallon drum, so this is actually just going to be coming off my waterfall system. So as you probably heard me say in many videos, you never throw away anything on the Bowser Ranch. There's just some PVC pipe left over from a previous project. It's literally maybe 2 or 3 feet long. During the original project, most people would just scrap this because what are you going to use this piece for? I'm going to use this as an additional filtration because I'm trying to tinker how to get the floating algae out of my aquaponics. It's not really hurting anything, but I want to be able to see clear all the way down to the bottom. So I'm just using a 3/4 inch paddle bit, and I'm drilling holes through the pipe. The reason I choose 3/4 inch is because it's also the same size as my finger. I can take my finger in and then also just kind of ream it out, because what happens is the algae, and I've learned this from previous experience, love to catch on these little frays. And that, if you get these off, then there'll be less time that you have to actually clean this thing out. One of the things you got to be super careful with when you've got animals, barnyard animals, ducks, chickens, geese, even goats, you can't just leave these things laying around because they'll think they're food and then they can choke on them. So I'm drilling over this old bucket that I've got again. Just never throw anything away on the ranch. And I'm just drilling and the shavings fall right into there. That way when I get done, I should have very little mess to clean up. When you're drilling with a paddle bit through PVC, the key is high speed, low downward pressure. If you push too hard on, the paddle bit bites, and then it wants to spin the drill. And if you're not paying attention, you can hurt your wrist. So lots of speed, light pressure, and that'll get you through. Okay. And I got a supervisor back there too. Nico's my bubba. You my bubba? Come here, little man. One helpful tip when you're cleaning out an aquaponics system with a water-obsessed German Shepherd, make sure he's put up before you start cleaning everything out, because he likes to get into water and he doesn't know if it's clean or dirty water. You catch my drift? So the material that I'm using is just fabric that you can buy at your big box store. This actually goes around you can buy the perforated sewer pipes. This goes around that on the outside to keep dirt from going into your pipe. I'm just using it in the reverse sense. So I'm going to wrap this around my tube, so that way when water dumps in the top, right, it comes out these holes that I'm pre-drilling, and then it keeps the dirt inside. And then this will be short enough that if it gets clogged, it'll just kind of fill out over the top and then into the aquaponics. So I don't lose the water in the system. And then to keep this all nice together, I'm going to use this netting material to kind of put this all together. So let's get to work because we're jabberjawing.
I love it. I found something exciting. Come here.
This happens all the time when we're working on projects. The wife calls. Let's go see what exciting she found.
We have a chrysalis.
And what's a chrysalis? That sounds like a Harry Potter thing.
Well, we have milkweed planted near this planter up front, And last year we had queen butterflies lay their larvae. A little chrysalis here. And this chrysalis is going to be a queen butterfly. It's a cocoon. They are similar to monarch butterflies. Monarchs and queen butterflies are the only two that live on a host plant. And there's a little butterfly inside of that. So we'll keep an eye on this and hopefully we'll see it when it emerges.
I finished drilling all my holes, but as you can see, I got all kinds of stuff coming out of it. So I'm gonna take a piece of sandpaper and I'm gonna sand everything down. Now I'm sanding it for a couple reasons. One, that way it's smooth and I don't cut my, well, you're not gonna really cut yourself on it, but I don't get jabbed with it. Two, it's gonna less likely tear the material that I'm gonna wrap around this. Now I'm going to sand both the outside, and I'm going to try as much as I can to do inside of each of these. By the way, I'm not saying that this system is going to work. It's an experiment. It may work, it may not work. I'll tell you in a future video if it does work, if it doesn't work, what's the benefits and what's the drawbacks. Did I find this more of a pain in the neck to clean than the other system or not? It's all about learning on the ranch. You're always looking for new improved ways, because as you start stacking chores, when we first started doing this, all we had was chickens. And that was easy. You just go out, feed the chickens in the morning and make sure they had water. Now you have chickens, ducks, goose, separate different stages of their life, so they gotta be separate, different nutritional needs, the goats, the plants. Of course, the drawback to doing that is if you become too good at being efficient and getting your daily chores knocked down to where's investment, you start thinking like I do, you start, well, hey, we can now have a miniature donkey, or we can have other animals, or we can have other things, and then you keep adding on and keep adding on. It's farm crack. Try first. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my knife, cut this in half, wrap it around my finger, and then that way I can stick my finger in and use my finger as a sanding bar. And of course it's not big enough, so that idea did not work. Maybe I should have chose a little bit larger paddle bit for the, if I redo this, I'm gonna have to go with a little bit bigger piece, just so I can get my finger through with the wrapping paper, with the sandpaper around it. Yeah, I'm using wrapping paper because the fish and the plants, they really like, they like Christmas wrapping paper. I'm not going to bore you with sanding each one of these. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, the finger idea didn't work very well, unless I drill bigger holes next time. So again, it's all about adapting, overcoming, thinking about your problem, what supplies and stuff you have on hand to help you fix that issue. So I found a short piece of polytubing that we use we bury it in the ground to water our plants. Had a scrap little piece left over. Now the piece by itself was a little bit too big, so what I did is I took my knife, I just cut a slit down it, and then right next to it I cut another little piece right next to it, and I literally just shaved out maybe about an 1/8 inch wide so I can make this a little bit smaller. Now I can just take the sandpaper, wrap it around like so. It fits in the hole perfectly, and I got a hand drum sander, and it does a great job in knocking out all those burrs. So again, like I said, what idea doesn't work the first time, always come back and figure out a new way to do it. So I've got my thing sanded on the outside and inside the grooves, but as I mentioned earlier, when you drill through, you get pieces of plastic sticking inside, and there's no way I can get my finger through this entire length. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of scrap conduit, and I'm just going to take that and then just run that down on the inside of it to knock out any of those big pieces. Now this is ready for the next step, but I think Barbie says breakfast is ready. And she loves me. She made me my favorite omelet. It's called the hat trick. It's 1 chicken egg, one duck egg, one goose egg. And then you're thinking, Chuck, that's an awful lot of eggs to be eating. We're gonna cut that in half. She eats half, I eat the other half. And then we come back, we'll finish up with this. So last I left you, we went in to have breakfast. She did fix me a hat trick omelet, and it was delicious. So now we get to finish off this. It's all sanded down, it's all nice and smooth. I really don't feel any rough spots in it. So, as I say that, I find a rough spot. So now I got my piece of cloth already cut. I'm just gonna take that, wrap that around this. Now I cut it enough to wrap it twice, because I'm thinking that that way there's a good overlap. That way no water will come out where there's a seam if I overlap it. So we're gonna go ahead and just wrap this around. I took a piece of my netting that I made. I put some tie wraps through at equal distances. I'm gonna put that around this, and then we're gonna just seal this in. Now the only real job of the plastic is to keep the material next to the pipe. And as you can see, I still got plenty of openings. Now I spread these, about a tie wrap apart. I don't like this bow here in the middle, so I'm probably gonna go ahead and go back and put another set in the middle, just for aesthetics purposes only. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and take my knife. I'm just gonna cut these off nice and flush. That way they don't scratch anything. Like me, right? And then, so you see the pipe ends right here. I'm just going to take this and shove it up into here, cut off this excess from around here, and then when this is sitting on the bottom of the aquaponics, that's going to keep it from going out the bottom. I've kind of changed. I'm not just going to shove it up in there. I'm going to take this, I'm going to twist it, so that way none of it blows out. Take a tie wrap. I'm gonna go ahead and seal this up. Just in case. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. That way there's no way that if this gets maybe bumped over, oops, cut myself. That way if this gets bumped over something, it's still not gonna come out the other end. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this flush. But now I'll just go ahead and stick that whole thing up in the end. So there, when I go stick it in, it'll sit like that. The water will come in from the top. It'll come out the holes where the fabric to strain out the floating algae, and hopefully what'll come out will be cleaner. So hopefully this, with the other systems I have in place, will get the goal that I'm trying to get to. If not, I got an idea for another system using a 5-gallon bucket. So I'm down here at the aquaponics system. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the system. But my goal here really is to just go ahead and put in this filter and show you the filter working. I'll do a more in-depth video later on the whole aquaponics system. So there's basically 3 major components to the aquaponics system. You have the tank where the fish live. You feed the fish. They do what fish naturally do. They eat, they poop, they procreate. Then there's a solid separator, so it drains water into the solid separator, which spins the water so the solids fall to the bottom. And then the rest flows up to the top. It goes to a bacteria medium, which separates the nitrates out and then puts that in what we call the grow bed. Now our particular system can support up to 6 grow beds. Right now we only have 1. Take a guess on where I was cleaning out the filters with the hose that my dog was obsessing over the water. Take a guess. I think he's hoping I'll do it again. The system works is there's a pump in the grow bed. It pumps water from the grow bed up through this aqua tubing. You look familiar? And it comes out this hose, comes down into this little plastic container, and inside the plastic container I have some more of that white stuff that I wrapped around that other post. As you can see, I just cleaned this out today, and as you can see, it's already captured some stuff in there already, right? But like I said, this fills up pretty quickly, so I'm abandoning this system, and we're gonna put in this other new system. So let's go put this together. So it is in, and it appears to be working just fine and dandy. We'll keep an eye on it over the next couple days. So until then, live your own story. And thank you for getting. If you like our content, please subscribe and hit the notification button for future updates. We certainly appreciate each and every one of you. And if you get some system or some type of a system on your aquaponics and you think it's better than ours, put a link in the comments below or subscribe in the comments below. I'm always looking for a way to make our system better. And your system might be better than mine. I'm not an expert. I'm just someone who's learning. Lifelong learner. You should be too. Now go live your own story.